Live from the Score Atlanta television studios in North Atlanta, this is Georgia High School Sports Daily, powered by IBEW Local 613.
All right, welcome to Monday's edition, semifinal week for the high school football season of the Georgia High School Football Daily. Georgia High School Sports Daily. Football Daily, we'll talk to them in the second segment, Todd Holcomb and Chip Say. We are powered by IBEW Local 613. Craig Sager is with me, and we've got Najee Wilkins on Zoom. I've got a lot to talk about. We've got Tim Scott, the executive director of the GHSA, in the studio. We'll be talking to him. He's going to do the coin flip for flag football, which I think will good and in fact, we've told him that we can do all coin flips live because people actually, Craig, question, coin flips.
That's right.
Okay, they watch it on tape and they think, well, somebody's messing it until they figure out how they want the flip to go.
Yeah, well, hopefully we won't screw it up. And then this will actually be for the entire playoffs for flag football.
Yeah,
for all the potential same seeding. Yeah,
we also have old AJC friend Michelle Hiskey coming up. We'll interview her in the last segment. We both started in the mid-'80s at the Atlanta Journal-Constitution and she lasted longer than I did. I left and went to Wall Street. She stayed and continued working there, and today is actually helping people helping kids write their essays.
Yeah,
which I think is awesome. Yeah, it's huge. That's a big deal, and she could tell us
that's the difference in how you get in.
Yep, how important it is because it is so competitive now. So we look forward to talking about that. Friday night game, it was freezing. Yours truly had to fill in play-by-play. Did it with Adam Clack, of course, the Milton coach who won a state championship back in 2018. Craig, Najee, let's put Najee on. It was a little bit of a shame because I really felt like North Gwinnett had the talent to stay with Buford. I'm not saying they had the talent to beat Buford, but I think they had the talent to stay with Buford. But two early miscues, two fumbles, especially the fumble and the punt, just really hurt them. Buford turned them into scores. Meanwhile, North Gwinnett was playing great. They had scored a touchdown. They were within 8. I thought it was a great move by Buford to go for the 2 points there. Yep. Very smart. So it was, but they got it to 15-7. And then at the end of the first half, they had a great chance to score a touchdown. Kid dropped a perfect pass at about the 4-yard line, Craig. But I will say this, and I do want to hear what both you and Najee feel. The running back room, for Buford reminds me of some of those great running back rooms, when Derrick Henry and all those players were at University of Alabama, and the same at Georgia, because, Georgia for many years was known as, as running back U. But Najee, I'll tell you something, they've got 4 running backs there. All 4 of those kids can really play.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. We talked to the head coach over the past week when we talked to head coach Brian Applin, and that was one of his points is the Buford standard. They all buy in. No, not one person is going to single-handedly carry the load, but everybody's going to help contribute. Ethan Irvin, Justin Baker's committed to Tennessee. All those guys are bought in. And think about Tyreek Green, who came over from Kell last year. He was their leading back there. He's more so like the 3rd or 4th back for them, but it's starring at safety. So it's all a buy-in. And when you have 4 kids that want to see each other win, you get that result on the field.
Well, and I'll tell you, Craig, who the Baker kid reminds me of. He reminds me of another great Buford running back that's at Alabama right now, Justice Haynes.
100%.
Squared up at the shoulders, runs downhill, runs hard. He's got that quick burst. Just really, really good.
Yeah, and that's the thing. When you play a defensive line as talented, deep, and well-coached as North Gwinnett, the Buford offense has to also be well coached. They have to hit holes correctly. They have to understand it. You saw a mature running game. You saw Buford not make any mistakes, capitalize on the early turnovers, and then run the ball very well against one of the best run-stopping defenses in the game. So I think in order for it to work when you have that much talent in the backfield, like at Alabama, like at Buford, you have to win championships, and Coach Applin's found that formula.
Yeah, and their game with Carrollton. Let me say this. I work with Kevin Gerke over at Georgia Public Broadcasting. We actually, Score Atlanta, put the state championships in there in the game of the week years ago. So I'm very familiar with Georgia Public Broadcasting. They have the first choice okay, as far as which game to do. We have the second choice. And they went with Carrollton and Beaufort, okay? But we got...
Going to be a heck of a game.
Yeah, it's going to be a good game, but we've got Lee County, okay, coming up here and playing Milton. Lee County's never been on television before, at least locally. They might nationally have been on television. But to get them against Milton, because that, to me, is the 5A state championship. Agree or not?
Yeah, 100%, because Milton obviously won 7A last year, and this has been the collision course the entire time. A program like Carrollton and Beaufort, we see them have great teams every year. We see Lee County and Milton have great teams, but it's the fact that it's happening this year in the semifinals. It's the timing of the matchup that makes it so good.
Yeah, and that'll be 7:30, about a 7:37 kickoff at Milton, right up the street from our studios here in Roswell. Real excited about that. Najee, before we go to the fast break headlines, Najee, you think Lee County can beat them?
Yeah, they got a shot. They got a shot for sure. I mean, when you got Weston Bryan and Georgia Southern commit having 7 touchdowns in their previous game, and you got Usman Kroma, who's one of the finalists going to be for Mr. Georgia football, they definitely got a shot. Milton's going to have to be ready. But one thing is, Milton's battle tested. I will give them that. So I'm still going with Milton, though.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what, though, you got to have a quarterback and you got to have a running back to beat a better team. And Lee County has both of those, which are real exciting. The other thing is we've got our awards day coming up, the Score Atlanta Football and Flag Awards. That's going to be Sunday at the Teamsters event facility down in South Atlanta. You'll get more information on that. If you check out scoreatl.com, we will announce, except for Mr. Georgia and Mrs. Georgia, we'll announce the 5 finalists for both of those awards. But the rest of the awards we will announce today on scoreatl.com. We've got a lot of them, all classification, Coach of the Year, Assistant Coaches of the Year, Offense, Defensive Players of the Year. I think it's going to be a lot of fun Sunday. That will be here also on Peachtree Sports Network from 3 until 5 o'clock. So you can watch that, or we'd love you to come to it, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. All right, let's get to the fast break headlines. Najee, you've got our first one.
All right, Coffee running back Tyrese Woodgett sets a single-game rushing record in a win over Sequoia. They won that one pretty handily, 72-48. He rushed for a GHSA single-game rushing record of 605 yards and 7 touchdowns in the win. All 50 yards or longer on his 7 touchdowns that he had, and only on 19 carries in the big win. He passed the previous record held by Devin Collins of Pepperell, who rushed for 485 yards against Rockmart in 2014. IJ, this kid is the real deal. He's one of the best backs that we have. Is the reason why they were really good last year as well, with Coffee winning the state championship, and they are dangerous. You see it right here off tackle, him being able to squirt through the hole right there and be able to use that speed, and he is tough to stop. His quick jump start ability, his ability to cut as well. I mean, the kid is electric and sets the single-game rushing record. Absolutely incredible.
I mean, Najee, let's think about this. I mean, that's 120 more yards. He not only broke the record, he broke it by 120 yards.
The really scary thing is Coffee ran for almost, I think, over 500 yards against Brunswick the previous week. They only attempted 3 passes against Sequoia, so they knew what the game plan was. You're going to have to try to stop us, and I've never seen anything like that. Rushing for over 600 yards with one guy, 700 as a team, the success, 30 yards a carry, pretty incredible.
Yeah, what's the deal with Tyrese as far as college?
I haven't heard too much as far as college it comes to with him. I think he's still surfing through offers, probably looking at regular signing day in February.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, we absolutely need to try to get him to play in the elite class.
Yeah. Well, we got Fred Brown last year, Coffee's running back, after they won the state title.
Yep. So, all right, Najee, you got the second headline?
All right, number 2, this is a massive upset. North Cobb Christian knocks off number 1 Savannah Christian in the Class A 3A private playoffs. A major upset. This throw right here from Teddy Gerard is next level. I posted it on my X account as well. You guys are going to see the blitz is going to come right there. There's Elijah Griffin. Boom, look at him elude that rush right there, and look at this layer throw right here. What pressure in his face, absolute dot in the back of the end zone. Teddy is the real deal. As far as the game goes, 70-yard Kenry Wall run. North Cobb Christian answered with a 26-yard Daniel Rivera field goal. Jaden Mills extended the Raiders' lead to 13-3 with the 57-yard run. The Eagles then cut the lead on a 20-yard touchdown pass. A few minutes later, Early in the third quarter, the Eagles added another touchdown and extended their lead to 24-13, and then they added a field goal 27-13 at the end of the third. Zoe Smalls made it interesting towards the end with his touchdown run, but they would go up 30-20, and with 3 minutes left, the Raiders scored on a Jaden Mills touchdown, but it was too little too late, and it ended up advancing. I cannot say this enough. This is a massive win for North Cobb Christian. This Savannah Christian team was favored by everybody. I think it was a 35-point favorite they were in this game. And as I said going in, I didn't take North Cobb Christian to win. But I said if Teddy Girard can go in there and beat this type of team, he's going to do a lot for his stock going forward. You can book it right here on the show. He's going to be a national recruit in the country here very soon. He's the real deal. I seen it last year. He played in our Georgia League Classic. The kid is up next.
Well, I'll tell you what, guys. I mean, he was sensational. All right, Craig, let's get to North Oconee, Cartersville.
Yeah, real quick. This was a great game. 28-26. North Oconee won. They were up 21-0. Credit to Cartersville. They came back. They had a chance to potentially tie it up. They failed the 2-point conversion. But once again in this game, you saw Nate Russell of Cartersville. He played outstanding. And then Brady Marchese, he kind of led them in the comeback attempt. But on the other side for North Oconee, you saw Landon Roldan have another great performance, big-time touchdowns, and now it's going to be North Oconee against BT in the semifinals. That should be a heck of a game.
All right, and kudos to you for where you've had North Oconee all year.
Yep.
You've had them number one. All right, headline number 4, Christopher Swan from Central Carrollton, nationally ranked as top wrestler in preseason rankings in Sports Illustrated. He is rated as the number 17 wrestler in the country. He won the U.S. Marine Corps Junior National Championship back in June at 106 pounds at North Dakota. And the last headline, Najee?
Yes, sir. So Hebron Christian star Aubrey Beckham, she is committed to the University of Georgia. She is out for the season with a torn ACL. It happened last week. She announced it on her Instagram this past Saturday that her season was over. It happened in the IMG win versus IMG Academy 55-50 win in an inside exposure event in Jacksonville, Florida. She's only a few days removed from signing her letter of intent with the University of Georgia, ranked as the number 11 point guard in the nation by 247 Sports. Helped lead them to a 94-8 record as a starter at Hebron Christian. And remember, last year they ended up winning the Throne National Tournament. They went 68-2 and was nationally ranked. So tough news there.
That's
She's
a
the
tough
star. And, she is out for the year.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Najee. We're going to go to break. When we come back, we're going to go over all the brackets in football, what happened Friday night. Take a look at this weekend's semifinals. Remember, we've got the game of the century this Friday night, and that is Lee County at Milton. We'll be right back.
Great teams are committed, focused on the details, and work hard to be their best. From practice to games, right down to their gear. Your field is a critical part of the game that allows your athletes to showcase their athletic abilities. Sports Turf is committed to bringing your team innovative sports surfaces with unparalleled performance. You bring the vision. Our team brings it to life.
The Georgia Sheet Metal JETC equips apprentices with the knowledge and skills required to start a rewarding career in the sheet metal industry with programs in HVAC, industrial welding, and testing, adjusting, and balancing. Training is 100% free and allows apprentices to earn as they learn. Journeymen graduate with no student debt and have the potential to earn more than most college graduates. Visit our website to learn more about this opportunity at careersinsheetmetal.com.
This makes my dad proud. He went through his whole career as an employee. Now I'm the employer, something he didn't achieve.
We are signatory to IBEW and do IBEW people wherever we go that we feel like they are faster and better than any of our competition.
The advantages of being a signatory contractor is you're trained employees. You have unlimited manpower. It allows me to bid on jobs that I ordinarily would not go after.
Man, you know how to do this? Man, I don't even know. I was flipping burgers last week.
Violation, unsportsmanlike conduct, impersonating a craftsman.
Skilled trade unions are well-trained career pros, not part-timers. Construction is a rewarding and lucrative career with the advancement potential, but you have to do it the right way with the right training. Learn how you can be a pro. Find your career at GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com.
Georgia High School Sports Daily is brought to you by the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 613. Electrify your career.
All right, welcome back to the Georgia High School Sports Daily, powered by IBEW Local 613. I'm IJ Rosenberg. We're in the Score Atlanta studios up here in Roswell. Craig Sager is on our green screen. We'll take a look, go to him in a second. We also have Najee Wilkins. A lot coming up for Score Atlanta in December. As I said, we've got our big honors basically day next Sunday at the Teamsters event facility down in South Atlanta. We'll have all the top high school players and flag players. They'll be there down at the Teamsters Local 728. We expect that to be really good. We're going to name a Mr. Georgia and Mrs. Georgia, which really hasn't been done before. And we'll talk a little bit more about that this week, as we will announce today our top 5 for both Mr. And Mrs. Georgia. Don't forget, on Friday night, we've got a huge game on the Peachtree Sports Network. That will be our last game of the year. The state championships will turn it over to the the Georgia Public Broadcasting in a week, and they'll handle the state championships on TV. But we'll be doing a lot of stuff on the state, both on our website and on the daily show. So, Craig, let's go to you and take a look at what we've got as far as matchups for 6A. If you look at it, we've got Collins Hill and Grayson. Let's start with Collins Hill and Grayson. You'd make a good weatherman. Okay?
I'm still getting used to it.
That's all right. We're all getting used to it. All right, so let's start off with Collins Hill and Grayson. Excuse me, not Collins Hill and Grayson. Let's talk about Grayson and Douglas County. Let me throw my 2 cents out there first. I think that Douglas, I've said this all season, they sort of, they had a tough game early against Mill Creek, but they come back and play really well in the playoffs. They've got as much talent as anybody. I like them against Grayson. I think Grayson's a good football team. Craig, what do you think?
Well, I watched this Douglas County West Forsyth game. They were very close to losing this game. So Douglas County got the touchdown to go up by 6. They failed the point after, so that left West Forsyth down by 6 with the ball. They drove all the way down to the 20-yard line. If they would have scored a touchdown, there would have been little time left, but they ended up getting the stop. Turnover down on downs, a huge sigh of relief for Douglas County. That was a game I thought they should have won, but West Forsyth came very close. They had a great playoff run. And then for Grayson, they played Collins Hill in their opener. They lost that game, but they have had a lot of growth as this season has gone on, still getting that offense revving up. We know how good their defense is with Tyler Atkinson, probably the best defensive player in the entire state, and all that crew. So great job by Santavius Bryant. I think that's going to be a great matchup. I want to go to Najee real quick, just what he thinks about this overall matchup, one that 2 great teams we're familiar with, but we haven't really seen the athleticism of Grayson and Douglas County square off.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. I will give the nod to Grayson right now. Douglas County is going to be in a tough spot. Their quarterback is out for the season with a broken collarbone, DJ Bordeaux. So that's going to be hard for them to overcome. And I will go with Grayson. They just beat up Collins Hill 38-14. Collins Hill is a very good unit. They beat them early in the year 2019. I think Grayson is focused, ready to go, and that defense is firing on all cylinders. So I will go with Grayson with that one.
All right, let's turn around, Craig, and go to Carrollton and Buford. Both very good teams, both with a lot of talent. Carrollton scores a lot of points. Buford is excellent defensively. Craig, what do you think?
Well, I don't know if there's 2 jobs where there's more pressure on you to win a state championship. So they'll be squaring off. Obviously, Buford, they've won a state title in every classification over the years except the highest one. This is a Carrollton team with a lot of experience. The one thing is the health of Juju Lewis. He did get hurt in the last game, had to come out, but the backup came in, did very well, and they've been so dominant. I like Carrollton's patience offensively, their weapons in the passing game, Peyton Zachary, just all the different things they can do, Kamari Farmer, but that depth of the Buford backfield, I think they're going to want to run the ball to win that game.
Yeah, and I think, and before we go to Najee on this game, we'll have to move quicker through some of these, but I think what I saw Friday night, Buford really has a good defensive backfield. I mean, I'll tell you, they've got kids back playing safety and cornerback that look like they should go straight to college. All right, I'll tell you what. Let's go to 6A. Excuse me, 5A. Let's go to the 5A bracket real quick.
All right, so on this side, where am I? There we go. Coffee and Hughes, it should be a great matchup. Obviously, Coffee, they've ran for 900 yards the last couple of games, so we know how that game plan is going to go with Hughes up to stop them. Hughes, their passing game has been great. Maurice Gleaton, Christian Langford at quarterback, who was actually at Buford last year. Then you got Lee County and Milton. Our game be the game of the week, I feel like. Let's go to 4A real quick. I think this is the most wide open and tough to kind of predict. You see, Blessed Trinity had a great win over Benedictine. I thought the surprising stat in that one, BT's now 5-0 all-time against Benedictine. Not many teams can say that. North Oconee, they made the semifinals last year. They're right back in it again. And then on this side, you got Creekside against Marist. Marist really pulled away late in that Cambridge game. It was close, and then they absolutely dominated the second half. Tons of turnovers, didn't allow Cambridge to get any points on the board. But then that Creekside defense, the key is going to be how well of a job can you do in 1 week to prepare for that triple option, something that Marist runs every single day at practice, the same few plays every single time. So you're really going to have to be prepared defensively to get off the field.
Najee, who's the best team in that 4A, the 4 teams left? Who do you think's the best?
Norfolk Coney. I think when you look at their quarterback and what they got, they're very explosive. Kamari Brooks plays both sides of the ball. Landon Roldan is tough to stop. Blessed Trinity probably has the best defense, but best overall team. I go Norfolk Coney. But don't sleep on Creekside. That Marist Creekside matchup is going to be very entertaining because they are a physical team. In order to beat and knock off a good Marist team, you got to be physical in the trenches on both sides of the ball. Creekside does have that. So don't be shocked if you see them back into the state title game.
And Najee, you'll remember the semifinal game that we did last year was actually Thomas County Central and Marist. And Marist had every chance. Thomas County Central would go on and beat Creekside for the state championship, but correct, I think I'm right. Am I right on that?
Woodward.
Excuse me, Woodward Academy. But I'll tell you what, I think that Marist, I think Marist has got a good chance in this one. All right, let's go down to 3A.
Yeah, 3A obviously opened up. The team I think is playing the best right now is LaGrange. The way they're running the football is pretty impressive. They dominated North Hall. You see Jefferson winning against Cherokee Bluff once again. Region opponent. They look very talented. They're coming off that big win over Oconee County. Calhoun, they had a huge win over number 1 ranked Peach County. They're playing with a ton of confidence. This is a Calhoun team that missed the playoffs last year, really came out focused, and you see them get better as the season goes on. And then Stevenson, a team that has gone completely under the radar this year. They're playing outstanding, and they look very dangerous.
Craig, I can't remember the last time a DeKalb County team was in the semifinals. All right, let's go down to 2A.
All right, with 2A, real quick, we'll get it pulled up. So Appling County, they beat Stevens County. You see Carver Columbus, that was a big result, dominating over the 2-time defending champion Pierce County. Carver Columbus's defense is the real deal. I don't think they've given up double-digit points pretty much this whole season. You see Burke County beat Thompson for the second time in about a month. Those are huge rivals. Same sort of thing, winning by a touchdown. Who is that? I think it's Amari Williams, their running back. He's been outstanding. And then Rockmart, they've come on strong. A huge win over Morgan County, one of the best passing offenses in the state.
Yeah, and I know that Najee's been pushing Appling County all season. All right, let's go down to Class 1A Division 1.
All right, so Toombs County beat Elbert County. They ended their Cinderella one. That was the 19 seed. They dominated that one, tons of passing yards. Laganza Hayward, I think, had 3 touchdowns in that one. See Dublin, the number 2 seed, they beat a great Thomasville team, 35-13, shut them down. Northeast Macon, they're my Perry of this year, a Middle Georgia team that's never won a state title that can get it done this year. I have a lot of confidence in them. And then Fitzgerald, a team that came out of that Worth County region, beat them previously. It was a 3-way tie, but they're coming off a couple huge wins. They beat Appling County to end their season and have had a great playoff run. I really like Fitzgerald.
All right, let's go straight to D2.
All right, some familiar faces right here. I don't think any of us picked this Final Four wrong. You see Irwin County, Bowden, Manchester, and Brooks County, 4 of the battle-tested teams that have all been squaring off this year.
All right, let's go to the private bracket. We'll get in Najee on this one. We've got North Cobb Christian playing Prince Avenue Christian, and then Hebron Christian will play Fellowship Christian. Najee, Now that Savannah Christian's out of it, I guess what Prince Avenue has to be the favorite of the four left.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could say Prince Ave, Fellowship Christian would be another one as well. What they can do running the ball, they got players all over the field. We look at C.J. Givers, Evan Haynes, Josh Petty. It's going to really be a toss-up. Whoever brings they had on Friday night, anybody can win in the last four left.
Yeah, well, that's a round through the brackets. We'll be talking a lot this week and next week, of course, once we get to the state championships and we've got them. But that's it for the brackets right now. Coming up, we've got Tim Scott from the GHSA. He will do the coin toss for the brackets and the brackets for flag, and that, of course, the playoffs start, I think, on Wednesday. We'll be right back. Yeah, that was adorable.
1, 2.
Georgia High School Sports Daily is presented by GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com. Transform your future today. And by Smart Local 85. Sheet metal is a smart move.
All right, welcome back to the Georgia High School Sports Daily, powered by IBEW Local 613. We'll be on all week. On Wednesday, though, we'll do our early recruiting show or early signing show. That's early signing day. Not just for football, but I think it's for pretty much any sport. But we will be focusing on football. We'll have a special show Wednesday. We will not have our show that typically starts at noon. We'll have a 2-hour show. It'll be Craig Sager, Najee Wilkins, myself, Rusty Mansell will be, but it'll be from 2 to 4 on Wednesday. So don't forget to check that out. We're going to have people committing, players committing big names, and that should be a lot of fun. All right, we want to introduce Tim Scott, Georgia High School Association Executive Director, and let's I got to ask you this question because you mentioned to me this earlier, Tim. And from now on we can do this. We can do all the coin flips live, but there are people that when you tape them, don't necessarily believe it, right?
They do. There are some questions about that. So last week we did our first one live, and so this week we had the opportunity to do flag football here. So
yeah, so
that's something that we like. Hopefully we can continue.
Yeah. All right. So can you explain to us the playoffs will start Wednesday with the first round? Okay.
Wednesday the 5th is the second round.
Wednesday's the second round. So excuse me. Wednesday's the second round. But these will be the coin flip. Of course, is going to be for the games on the 9th and the 12th. So that's basically the quarterfinals.
Quarterfinals and semifinals is what this coin toss is for.
Okay, so you will go on before we talk about the brackets and the teams and stuff like that. Let's go on, and you can take us from here.
All right, so IJ, we're going to flip the coin. If you'll look at the GHSA side of the coin, that is the heads.
All right, can we get a better shot of that, guys? Let's get a better shot. There we go.
So the GHSA side will be the head.
Okay.
The U.S. flag will be the tail.
All right.
The head of the coin is the upper part of the bracket. The tail of the coin is the lower part of the bracket. All right. So we will flip the coin right now.
All right, we're going to pan the camera down.
And it is tails.
It is tails.
It's on the American flag, so that now will be the bottom half of the bracket for the 9th and the 12th of December will be the host team.
Now, hold on. Don't pick it up yet. Now, ladies, look at this, okay? Because we don't want any problems for Tim. We don't want him getting tons of calls. That clearly shows that that's the American flag and that is tails. So it will be the bottom part of the bracket. So the bottom half of the bracket, okay, both in the quarterfinals and the semifinals, okay, thanks, Tim, will host those games if the seeds are tied.
If like seeds meet,
right,
then the coin toss decides who is the home team.
Yeah, and Tim, you don't realize how big of a deal, but, let's use Friday night 6A, okay, as as sort of a, definitely a situation where you've got Beaufort hosting Carrollton. Yeah. You've got Milton. Lee County has to come all the way up. That's a big deal. Hosting is a big deal.
Yeah, it's a real big deal, especially those teams that travel. I'm sure the game you guys are doing, Lee County and Milton, Lee would like to be at home. There's no doubt. I know Coach Fabrizio would want to be at home. So it is a big deal.
Yeah, it is a big deal. And let me ask you this. In the future, do you ever see, because if you look at the 6 and the 5A semifinals, and I'm not taking anything away from Grayson or Collins Hill or any of those teams on the other side of the bracket, okay? But you have in the finals of 5A and 6A the teams that have been number 1 and number 2 for the entire season. Do you ever see a situation, Tim, where, like the lower brackets, where we get into like a power ranking type of situation? So, these type of matchups, and we get quarterfinal matchups, we get second round matchups. Do you ever see that at the higher brackets of a possibility of us going to a situation where they're just seeded 1 through 32?
Well, I'll tell you, this is the first year we've had the power rankings like we are doing with 3A and down. And so what we have had is, or I've had several calls to say, hey, your power rankings, I was actually talking to a coach this morning, seem to have been pretty, competitive. And so that was a question they asked. Is there any time that the GHSA would think about going to something? I do think that maybe that's some kind of conversation in the future, possibly, but we'll just have to wait and see. But I think that power rankings could be a good way to go, possibly.
Well, one of the things I like about the Georgia High School Association, Tim, and you don't see this in a lot of other states, that y'all don't resist change. Okay, last year is a good example. We came in during Corky Kell and did the replay okay? Because y'all are going to replay at the state championships, which I think is smart, especially when you're doing it at a place like Mercedes. But y'all are not resistant to change. So y'all do listen to people. And, you know, for at least me, and I don't know about Craig and Najee, but, you know, when you have Carrollton playing Buford and you've got Milton playing Lee County, which, again, nothing against the other teams that are in the other semifinals, but those 4 teams have been the strongest, you know, out there.
Exactly. And let me remind everybody of this. This is not a decision that I make or a few people make. It's a member-run organization, so any decision like that would be from all our schools voting on it.
All right, let's go to the brackets. Let's go to, it's broken down basically into 4 classifications. They don't really use classifications, but they use divisions. Let's start with number 4. It's really hard to see that. I'll tell you what, let's just pull that off because that's really hard for anybody to see. But you've got 4 really good divisions. I mean, Tim, it's incredible where flag football has come.
It's growing, man. It's a huge sport. We're getting schools that want to add all the time, so we're super excited about that. And the Falcons have been really, really good to us and supported us, so it's continuing to grow.
I mean, who thought 3 or 4 years ago that we would get to 2024 and have over 100 teams in the playoffs? I mean, that's really impressive.
It's been you know, a great move, and like people talk about it all the time, and then playing in the bins just highlights it, and so we're super excited about it.
All right, Tim, we're starting to see the winter sports start. We've got basketball. Obviously, we've got swimming. You know, we've got other wrestling is a winter sport. So all that's really cranking up. So right now, you sort of got that crossover of a lot of sports going on.
Yeah, we do. But you know, wrestling, boys and girls basketball, boys and girls wrestling, and with the boys and girls swimming. So there's 6 winter sports there rolling into January. And as we're finishing off, and I don't want to forget game day cheer. State championships are this
weekend
in Columbus. So we'll have 2 full days of that there at the Columbus Civic Center.
And the semifinals for football are Friday night, and then the state championships will be the 16th, 17th, and 18th at Mercedes-Benz. We'll start off with the girls' flag championships at noon on that Monday.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
And of course, we do Corky Kell, and you've been there before at Mercedes-Benz. It's a great place to host. They're going to be hosting the SEC championships this week. They've got the Peach Bowl coming up, which is, I think the second round of 8.
That's right.
And then we've got the national championships this year at Mercedes-Benz. So they're going to have a good time. Tim, we want to thank you for coming by. We love the segment with you every Monday.
Appreciate it very much.
All right, we've got Todd Holcomb coming up from the Georgia High School Football Daily. He's got a lot to talk about, so make sure you stay tuned.
Dang, where you get this car?
You need to join the union.
The union?
Absolutely. You can get 10 of these.
Union construction workers earn the highest wages with the best benefits and the most protection in the construction industry. Find your career in construction. Go to GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com and start your future today.
A journeyman with Local 85, when you turn out, you can be hitting 6 figures.
Hey, I have your back, you have my back. We're gonna do this together. We're one for all for one.
College just wasn't for me. Let's look into actual career jobs that wouldn't take college, where I wouldn't, lose money and all that. Instead of losing a lot more money at the end, why not make money and make more money at the end?
The Mechanical Trades Institute is an opportunity towards personal financial freedom through hands-on and rewarding work. Our school is completely free and gives apprentices the knowledge and skills required to gain access to a lifelong career path. Apprentices learn pipe fitting, plumbing, mechanical service, and welding. They earn money as they learn and graduate with no student debt. Start a career with the Mechanical Trades Institute and change your financial future.
What happens after you graduate? Will you go to the next level? Will people have your back in the heat of the battle? Will you still train like a champion in pursuit of greatness? You will. when you become an IBEW electrician. Join our team. Visit IBEW613.org.
Welcome back to the Georgia High School Sports Daily. Now we go to Todd Holcomb of the Georgia High School Football Daily. Todd, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. We're getting near the end here. It's getting exciting.
Well, while you were all snuggled up Friday night, writing from your computer in this office right here, I was out at Buford in an outdoor press box in about 30-degree weather trying to call that game. And I'll tell you, it wasn't easy. Friday night with the Georgia Tech game, and of course, you know, the 8 overtimes, that was absolutely crazy. So we were a lot of competition Friday night, Todd. But a couple of things on the field that happened. 2 number 1 teams fell in the quarterfinals. Todd, surprised you at all?
Well, I would say that one of them did for sure. North Cobb Christian beat Savannah Christian, the number 1 team in that private division. And North Cobb Christian's a good team. They've been in the top 10 all year. But I don't think anybody thought they would win on the road at Savannah Christian. That was 30-27. You know, Savannah Christian's the team with Elijah Griffin, I think is a contender for State Player of the Year. You know, super 5-star recruit and all that. They have a bunch of good players, not just him. But great effort by North Cobb Christian. Their quarterback's the sophomore, Teddy Gerard. He was 31 of 51 passing for 327 yards. They just decided to throw it every time. It was good game plan, and it worked. Yeah. And the other one was Calhoun beating Peach County. They have a great rivalry for two schools in different parts of the state. You know, they played in the controversial state championship game about 5 or 6 years ago, and Calhoun won 38-28. That's not a shocker, though, because that 3A was very hard to rank, a bunch of good teams. And Calhoun, you know, they've beaten 7 number 1 teams since 2000 when they really became good, and that's a high number. Number 1 teams don't often lose, so that's a pretty good record of Calhoun stepping up and beating good teams over the years.
Well, Todd, and Calhoun's always a team you got to be careful with. They're always playing. They don't necessarily come out of the gate really hot, but they are, you know, very, very good, you know, in the playoffs, especially towards the end of the year. And they just, and that didn't surprise, Craig, that didn't surprise you, did it? No, beating Peach County?
I knew that one would be close. And I think I mentioned Calhoun missed the playoffs last year, but playing in that tough region the last few years with Cartersville, Cass, Dalton, Hiram, I think that's helped them in this new classification to just take their season a little with a different approach, saying, hey, it's just about getting into the playoffs, getting better as the season goes on, and I think that's what they've done. I want to ask a couple questions. Continue real quick.
Yeah, I was just going to comment, too, on Calhoun. You know, they dropped down a couple of classes, you know, because the GHSA tweaked the rule on the multiplier. And so notice that Calhoun, I think, went back a couple. Jefferson went back a couple. Blessed Trinity, Marist. These are all teams in the semifinals, you know, that got a break and reclass. And so, you know, we put Calhoun back in this class. They're always a state power. They're definitely expect to be 1 in 3A.
For sure. And yeah, speaking of Blessed Trinity, I thought that was an interesting thing you pointed out. BT now 5-0 against Benedictine. That's pretty hard to believe. And then the other thing I got to ask you was, where were you on Friday of this weekend when you found out what went down at the coffee game with the record-breaking rushing performance?
I can't remember whether I saw it late Friday or Saturday morning, and that was an interesting story. You know, Tyrese Woodgett, you know, the running back, ran for 605 yards on 20 carries, 7 touchdowns. And they first posted it and said he had something like, I don't remember, 530, 40. And this was based on coaches just doing it on the fly on Friday night. So most teams, or pretty much all teams, then they'll go back and review the film to make sure that those stats are right. And then they realized that there was one play that they'd given, a long run that they'd given to a backup running back. So the final total was 605. So in our newsletter today, we have all 20 carries and how many yards he got on each carry. And in his first 4 carries, he went for 63 touchdown, 80-yard touchdown, 70-yard touchdown, 80-yard touchdown. And keep in mind, this is the playoffs. You know, this is not, you know, them playing some smaller school in regular season. You know, it's a quarterfinals. That's probably one of the most incredible, certainly maybe the most incredible offensive performance I can ever remember.
Well, it's funny, Todd, because I remember from my years in the 70s when Eddie Lee Ivory for Georgia Tech, went up to Colorado on a frozen field and rushed for over 300 yards that broke the record for the NCAA. That record held up for a long time because that game wasn't on TV. And this is another example. This game, it wasn't necessary. It might have been on digitally, but it wasn't on TV. So a lot of people don't know about it. Back when Eddie Lee Ivory did his, it was the same thing. But I'll tell you what a performance, and certainly is going to help him with his recruiting. You've also got today in the newsletter, which I read this morning, which is really interesting, Hebron Christian head football coach Jonathan Guess did some questions with him. He's a heck of a football coach. He was at Eagles Landing Christian, so he's won some state championships. It'll be interesting because you could end up, Todd, seeing a rematch of a game earlier this year between Hebron and Prince Avenue.
Yeah, I think it was, I don't recall the exact score, but it was pretty close. I think it was a one-score game, wasn't it, with Prince Avenue? That would be a super state championship game again. And if they were to play, but yeah, it's interesting to kind of get in the mind of a coach like Jonathan Guess, who's won, so many state titles. How many have I lost count? I think I put it in there. Won six at Eagles Landing Christian. And the first thing was Hebron set some milestones. It's the first ever semifinals, first time they ever won 10 games. But he doesn't really want to celebrate or think about that. It's the next game. Right. And then the other thing I thought was interesting, you ask him why is his team so good, and he said, we got really good players, and he proceeded to list about, 5 that are going to be signing this week, including 3 at ACC teams. So you got a small private school like that that's got 3 major D1 commits who are seniors. There's a good chance you're going to be pretty good if you're coached well. And then we also asked him what he thought about the 3A a private division, and he's basically. It feels like, just give me the schedule and we'll play and do the best we can. But he definitely is in the camp of wanting all the schools to play together, the privates and the publics to be in one classification.
All right, so talk about this one perfect ballot. This Jesse Lynch of Rockmart. Lynch has predicted all 28 games correctly, not in 6A, okay? Not in 5A, but in Class A Division II, all chosen before the playoffs begun. That's pretty incredible if you think about it.
Yeah, we have over 3,000 people entered, or 3,000 ballots, spread across the 8 classifications, and only one of them has been 24 for 24. And yeah, I had to go back and see what some of the upsets in there. Irwin County, Bowden, Brooks County, Manchester, those are the final 4 teams, and I think those are our top 4 ranked teams. But there's some other teams you had to predict that would get through there, like Jenkins County and Tryon. So yeah, it's pretty good effort. 1 out of over 3,000. That's a pretty good effort.
And one of those 3,000 is sitting next to me, Craig Sager. You and Chuck Young of Cordele are leading 5A.
Yeah, and I picked Milton to win it all, so I think I'm in a pretty good spot in 5A.
All right, let's go to the Wednesday's trivia question, Todd. Who are the GACA Hall of Fame coaches that led the following quarterfinal teams to their most recent semifinal, all in the 1990s? And that was Elbert County in 1995, Stevens County 92, and Worth County 91. The answer to that, GACA Hall of Fame coaches who led them were T. McPherson in 1995 with Elbert, Rodney Walker 1992 with Stevens, and Milt Miller 1991 with Worth County. In today's question, 2 teams have made the semifinals for 5 consecutive seasons. Which 2 are they? Can't ask Todd because he put the question out there. Craig, you have any idea?
Man, maybe it would be Grayson and a smaller school. Am I right about Grayson?
I don't know the answer to my own question. I think there is one smaller school in South Georgia. I can't remember if Grayson got knocked out early in one of those. I'm thinking it might not be Grayson. Yeah, it's not Buford. Buford is always.
They got knocked off early. Yeah, and it's not Walton. So anyway, look for that question. Look for that answer tomorrow, right? So you're going to make sure you look up the answer, right, Todd?
Yeah, we'll make sure we got it right.
Well, listen, Todd, we appreciate it. Tell everybody how to get to you. It's an important time of year. You got a couple of weeks left of the newsletter.
Yeah, look us up online. We have a nice website, Georgia High School Football Daily, and there's a link there to click to get our newsletter. for free every morning during the weekdays for the rest of the season.
Yeah, and Todd, we appreciate it, and we'll continue talking about you every day, as well as you coming in on Monday. So we'll have you for the next couple of Mondays. All right, coming up, Michelle Hiskey. Stay tuned for this, especially if you're a parent or a student athlete or student that is going to be going to college in the next couple of years. She helps kids with their college essays. So we'll have Michelle coming up on the Peachtree Sports Network. All right, welcome back to the last segment of Monday's Georgia High School Sports Daily, powered by IBEW Local 613. I want to thank Kenny Mullins and all the electricians for the support they give us, as well as GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com, and Randy Beal and Steve Langley from SMART. We've got a lot of union support here, which we like. Want to bring on old friend Michelle Hiskey.
Thank you.
And all right, so I'm going to introduce the segment this way. So Michelle and I started at the Atlanta Journal-Constitution in the mid-'80s. She ended up staying, what, 22 years?
Yes, that's
I
correct.
stayed almost 15 years. We both did a lot of things. We'll talk about that in a second. But I got to bring up one story. A lot of people don't realize that Michelle was an excellent, excellent golfer at Duke. Okay.
That is correct.
And in fact, your uncle played the Masters, Babe Hiskey, right?
Correct, twice.
And but when she was at the Journal-Constitution, I decided to get Michelle together with my dad, who was a really good golfer, and we could play fivesomes back there at the Standard Club. So I told my dad that I was bringing one of my colleagues out, female colleague, and he sort of laughed at it when he heard female. And I said,
we're going to have to play slow.
Yeah, I said, Dad, I'm telling you, I said, you need to be careful. She played at Duke, which is a really good collegiate team, and you whipped all of our butts. And she played from the men's tees as well. And that was probably back in 1987.
Yeah.
So how you been doing since then?
It's been good. A lot has happened, in our business. And, I've gone through a lot, just getting married, getting divorced, actually.
Right.
I shouldn't say that, but having
and 2 kids.
And
you got 2 kids.
And just working in media and then starting my own business as a college
All right, so let's
coach.
So let's talk about the essay business, because I remember, both my daughters who went to the University of Georgia, the essays there, and then my son who went to Hamilton College up in upstate New York, which was
great college.
Great school, but a different type of essay, that's for sure.
Oh, no kidding.
So tell us how you got into this.
So interestingly, most of our business is really about connections, right? And I had a connection with a friend of mine who actually went to my church, and he said, my daughter goes to a private school and she needs some help with her essays, and could you coach her? And I thought, I wonder what that would be like. And so I said, sure, I'll do that. And it was really, really fun to be able to support her and to help her tell her story in the best way that she could.
And you've turned this into a business.
Absolutely, yeah. I just really have enjoyed working with students every year, usually starting around in May and then going into January.
So take us through the steps real quickly of how you do it.
Okay, so like a coach in sports, I'm going to do an assessment with someone who wants to become, write their best stories.
Right.
And, I'd like to talk a minute about how hard this is. It's very time sensitive. You've got to make your deadline. We know about deadlines, but a lot of students have never done a piece of writing that's this persuasive. And it needs to really show who they are. It's their chance to set themselves apart. And that's the key. You don't want to be like everyone else in an essay. You're not being graded against your other classmates. You are trying to write your own story. And then you've got to do it in a certain number of words. So that's also very difficult. And then you've got a lot on the line. You've got pressure from yourself and your parents, maybe your athletic coaches. So you need a coach. You need somebody who can say, hey, you can do it, and I'm going to help you. And I'm going to help you get to where you need to go also by avoiding some of the pitfalls.
And Michelle, a lot of people don't realize I was involved a lot in the University of Georgia, helping them with some things, but I got to know the admissions office well. And after early admission, in that second admission, people don't realize that they're all sitting around a table talking about you, okay? And that essay can make the big difference.
It's a huge difference maker, because when you think about what's on an application, you've got data, right? You've got your scores, you've got your
extracurriculars,
You've got extracurriculars, and you've got your recommendations, which are somebody else writing about you, but you don't have your voice. How do you think about something that you really care about? So those are the two things that I encourage my students to do: is pick something you really care about and show us how you think about it.
All right, so tell everybody, what's the best way? I know that you're big on Facebook. What's the best way that people get in touch with you?
Best way to get in touch with me is to email me at Michelle, Michelle, Hiskey, Hiskey, @gmail.com.
Yeah, and we'll by the way, we're going to do a little ad for you and put it on scoreatl.com.
Thanks.
But I'm telling you,
that.
she kicked my butt in writing, okay? I mean, I might have been up to her speed as far as reporting goes, but she was a much better writer than I. And I you know what? I've missed you for a long time. We started on the same day.
Yes.
A lot of people, we walked
Went
into
different paths.
well, and we went into a great place. I think we had over 80 people in the sports staff then.
Yes, it was.
You know, Dave Kindred, Furman Bisher, Chris Mortensen.
David Davidson.
Yeah, just so many great people.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, so I want to thank you for coming on.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah, one more quick, your email so people,
Sure.
Michelle?
Michelle.hiskey@gmail.com.
Michelle.hiskey@gmail.com.
Yep.
And like I said, this afternoon you'll be able to score to Score ATL. We'll have a little ad for you on there, and we'll go. We appreciate you coming on.
Okay.
Well, listen, we got a lot coming up this week. Don't forget to come back tomorrow at 12 right here on the Peachtree Sports Network.
Beginning the morning you opened your eyes, we spent every waking moment preparing you for the day you'd leave our nest. Whether it's driving to practice or helping with homework, it's all prepared you for, what am I going to be when I grow up? Will you be ready?
After much thought, I made my decision to take my talents to the IBEW Local 613.
The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers is not simply a job, it's a career. Visit IBEW613.org to begin a new future today.
Are you interested in becoming
You're on one, correct?
Yep.
Okay.
Man, what's that kid's name?